The juggernaut is back, but for how long? Can it be sustained? And what should we be worried about with Matt Derrick today on Locked On Chiefs?
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, Chiefs Kingdom. Thanks for making us your first listen today here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single day, you every dayers, you know that. And you're here all the time, and we appreciate you. We do this show for you. We are joined by our favorite guest, our most recurring guest, our esteemed guest, Matt Derrick, ChiefsDigest.com. Covers his team inside and out, our man on the beat. He's going to give you the lowdown from his perspective inside the organization versus my Patrick of theories. We're going to get there, and we're going to have a good time. We will run it down. Is this offense truly back? Can it be sustained in its current form? What does it have to do next in order to do that? Then we'll get on to how they improve it. What's the wait? Is it just Rashee Rice, or what else can you get done? There's more to do there. And then we turn our eyes to Jacksonville, particularly on the defensive side. What can we do there? A lot to cover. Matt's over at ChiefsDigest.com as Chiefs Digest here on the YouTube platform. 41 is the mic. You can find his outlets, and he's on TVs all around Kansas City. Chris is everywhere down in Wichita, or at least partially around Wichita anyway. KC Chiefs Corner is his site. You can find him there. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, as well as NFL33.com, where I have a little piece on Tyreek Hill that's going to hit tonight. You guys might want to check that out. And then on top of that, there's RGR Football, which is always fun in games from all kinds of angles about the Chiefs. Matt, so much conjecture and happy talk from national media figures who are ready to bury the Chiefs 36 hours ago, but now they're the second coming. I'm trying to find my midline here, and I'm having a little bit of trouble with it. Yes, it looked good. Yes, Xavier was explosive and made the offense look good and made Patrick look like himself, and holy cow, it's 2019 again. On the flip side, the Ravens were way worse than we thought they were in terms of walking in that game unprepared to stop that offense. How much of it is real? Is this a mirage? Is the offense as good as we saw against the Ravens?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of ways to look at it, Ryan. I mean, one is certainly that the Chiefs put down a bad team, at least the team that's playing bad defense right now. And that's something that they haven't always done. I mean, this offense in the last couple of years has frequently just played down to the level of its opponent. And they didn't do that on Sunday. I mean, they took care of business. If Andy Reid really wanted to go for the throat, he could have put up 40 or 50 in this game. I mean, they called off the dogs relatively early. So the fact that the Chiefs actually went out there and did that to a struggling team is a good sign. Now, the other part of the question is this something that is going to be repeated week after week? Jury's still out on that one. I think you've seen now 6 really good quarters in a row going back to the Giants game. Again, bad defenses, so you want to see what's going to happen going forward. It will be an interesting test going up against Jacksonville this week because they've been playing pretty good defense and at least creating turnovers. But how many lessons can be taken? I mean, maybe I'm being too cynical. Maybe I'm going to be a little bit too much of a show me stater and show me. But I just need to see them continue to do this and put up back-to-back performances because, yeah, this team in theory should be able to play like this consistently. But I also don't know that they were just one player away the entire time. I think it was a little bit of everything that contributed to this. But if that means it's a little bit of everything, then it just means that there could still be more room for improvement to go too.
There's different ways to look at it for sure. And I really wonder when you're looking at the situation, if it's just a matter of the offense evolving and learning what it can do and can't do as things continue to progress through the season. The one thing that I think is really interesting is, generally speaking, when we've seen the Chiefs in the past, it's always been the defense that's kind of struggled out of the gate and taken a month or so to get into the groove of things. And that seems to have happened almost immediately versus the offense usually is able to take off at least to start the season, and then they may slow down a little bit, especially with injuries. But now you're in a situation where I think that you're starting to get more players involved, and I think that that's part of what is causing this. I don't know that I would call it a revolution, so to speak, but close to a revolution for their offense. When you start looking at, Tyquan Thornton. Sorry, the Tyreek Hill news kind of hit me a little hard, just a little bit ago. Tyquan Thornton being able to do what he's been doing this season and taking a step forward has helped this offense. Then you add a guy in like Xavier Worthy who can do so many different things at the wide receiver position that they just hadn't been able to do. And you also have the evolution of getting Brashard Smith more involved in the offense now as well. So I do think that it's a matter of it's starting to evolve, and you're starting to also see the offensive line play better and Mahomes starting to trust his offensive line, which is, I think, a huge deal in this going forward. Matt, when you look at this offense and you look at how they're playing right now, you said a big key right before I started talking about how the Jaguars have turned they've turned the ball over 3 times in every single game this year. And that is going to be a huge key for this game. Kansas City's only turned it over once. Kind of a battle of best versus best in that regard.
Yeah, and once again, I mean, we're a quarter into the season, so one side, the Chiefs offense, they were admitting last week that they really didn't know their identity, and that by definition really means that they don't know what they do best. Well, they had some ideas clearly about what they did best once they got Xavier Worthy back, because they got Xavier doing what he does best, and that takes care of one problem. And honestly, I think y'all also saw that it solves some other problems, because with Xavier coming back, now you got, other guys kind of fitting in where they fit best, and particularly just isolated in the passing game, because I think that, Xavier being back takes some things off Tyquan's plate so that he doesn't have to maybe do as many different things as he does, because no knock against Tyquan, but he's not the utility guy that Xavier is and able to do a lot of things. Tyquan, I think, has got a handful of really good skill sets, but when you ask him to do everything, you're probably not going to get as much out of him. But when you get him doing what he does well, you get Juju what he does well, get Hollywood doing what he does well, and don't ask them for more. That kind of gets your offense going a little bit. And now, and you're hoping here, obviously, in a couple of weeks, you're going to have Rice back and do the same thing with getting him what he does. In theory, it's going to open up the passing game quite a bit more. I think we still got a lot of questions about the run game and what they do best in the run game. I know you look at the numbers and you say they went over 100 yards rushing. Well, back out Xavier Worthy, back out the quarterback kneel downs, and I think I came up with 24 for 78 yards, I think is what they had on Sunday. 3.5 yards a carry. That's not much of an identity in the run game. So they've got some things to work on now. And hey, granted, some of those were also second half runs where Kareem just kind of went into the line. So I still don't know after 4 games if we'll really know what their identity is as a running team. That's still a work in progress. But when you look at the Jaguars and what do the Chiefs have to do, honestly, I think number one thing the Chiefs have to do is just hold on to the football, because I don't know if the Jaguars are a team that forces turnovers or they're a team that has played teams in the first 4 weeks that turn over the football. My guess is that it's that second thing, that they've just played a bunch of teams that can't take care of the football, rather than that they're doing anything specific to get all these turnovers.
We're going to talk about forcing them coming up in a little bit. But before that, how do you double down? What do they do in order to take that next step upward, onward, whatever you're talking about, that doesn't include Rashee Rice? And his name is Kingsley. We're going to get to that coming up next. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IHS Top Safety Plus pick awards than anyone else. As of August 25, from footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. Like our players, we sweat every detail as well, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. I want to start there, and I'm sure you have covered this at ChiefsDigest.com, folks. Go check that out as well. I think the number one thing for me, in order to continue to move this team forward, especially on the offensive side of the ball, is consistency. And I think there's a performance. I don't think that we'd really argue that Kingsley probably put in his best performance to this point. Obviously didn't have Mid-BK to play against or nor Travis Jones. So that did help that. And so for me, it's shifting Kingsley Suamataia from learning his position to being consistent at his position. And that's the number one thing that I'm looking for on that offensive line to really solidify and take that next step. How would you see it?
Yeah, obviously I think there's one part of it is that this offensive line has generally been playing better week to week. So there's been some progress there. And they're getting confidence too. And that's a huge part of offensive line play as well. Feeling that you can get the job done, sometimes just important as, anything else. I mean, if you go into a game thinking that, hey, wait a minute, you got to mind your P's and Q's here and you've got to do everything right. Sometimes you tend to make mistakes, but if you go into games confident that you can get the job done, that can sometimes carry you a little ways. And Kingsley should be playing with confidence now. It was a really good game. So that's hopefully something that he can carry forward, build upon. That entire line, I think, should be, Andy Reid talked about it on Monday, addressing the fact that everybody in the line seemed to play their best game. And even some guys like Creed and Trey Smith that had, I think, struggled a little bit and been inconsistent the first 3 weeks of the season, they played really good games. So that's a big part. I mean, you're right. That offensive line playing consistent, because if it does, then you get what you saw on Sunday, which is that Patrick Mahomes, one, he's got time to look around. He's got time to go through his progression. He got time to look downfield. And so what happens? Well, you end up with a bunch of different guys getting targets and catches because he's able to spread the ball around and he's able to throw the ball deep. And yeah, that's what this team used to be known for from 2018 to 2022. It's, that was their 5-year run where that's exactly what they did. If they can get back to that, this offense is going to be a problem.
Well, if he can get to a point where he trusts his offensive line, which you started to see in that game on Sunday against the Baltimore Ravens, this is going to be an offense that's going to go to new heights. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch because you talk about all the different people that he threw the ball to and all the different targets he had. And you don't even talk about, Tunyon wasn't even on the field very much, didn't get a single target, and that's another one that I think is going to get used. Royals didn't get targeted that I remember seeing during that game. So you still have other guys that can step in and take steps to get you in a position where they're going to help you this season. And you still have some guys that are on IR that could come back. Jake Burningstool's a guy that could be coming back at some point in the future, which obviously there's an injury thing there that you got to figure out. But you look at this offense, and I think it's moving in the right direction, and it's really exciting. The question becomes, can they build on what you talked about in the last segment, Matt, the running game of going, 3.5 yards a carry? You got to get better there if you're going to continue to evolve as an offense and be better as an offense.
Yeah, and you want to look at it as a small sample size and be optimistic about it. I mean, Pacheco had 7 carries for 35 yards. Then again, question is, why is Isaiah Pacheco only getting 7 carries? Kareem Hunt did most of the work and heavy lifting. Again, I mean, a lot of that was in the fourth quarter when they were trying to ground out the clock a little bit. Why isn't Isaiah Pacheco able to ground out the clock too? I don't know. Kareem right now is the guy that absolutely is probably going to be able to get you 2 to 4 yards on every single snap. I just don't know if Kareem's going to get you 11 yards on any particular snap. But right now, nobody's getting you those big. I think the 11 yards is the longest carry that Pacheco has had this season. That the play that Xavier had was the longest run from scrimmage that any Chiefs players had this year. That I think one illustrates just the fact that, again, there is not a ton of explosiveness in this Chiefs backfield outside of Brashard Smith, who we saw a little bit more from on Sunday, but it looks like there's at least 2 things and factors at play with Brashard Smith. One being that the Chiefs still want to limit his exposure a little bit because they don't want to put him in some bad situations. He's still a work in progress as a running back because he only had that 1 year in college to build upon. So he's a little raw in some areas, but he's also, I think, ready to play in some areas too. And the Chiefs may just be holding him back because they've got plans for him and, maybe unveiling the Brashard Smith packages slowly but surely. So they may have some things lined up specifically just to show them against specific teams and be part of that plan of just bringing his rookie year along slowly, so that they're not overexposing him, not putting him in the spots where he's not ready for, and as a result maybe failing because he's not able to see the holes, or he's not got all the route patterns quite down yet. But the fact that they're just putting a little bit more on his plate every single week, I think is a good thing and should help that backfield. But the other thing we probably also need to talk about and consider too is just that Andy Reid, traditionally the short passing game is part of the run game. And the last couple of years, the short passing game wasn't really part of the run game. It was the offense, period. So you weren't using the short passing game to build upon anything. That was the offense. So now we're seeing a few more screens. We're seeing a few more pieces, the jet sweeps, getting Xavier Worthy involved on the edges. Those are all part of the run game. And so maybe it's too much to expect that Isaiah Pacheco alone or Kareem Hunt alone are going to be the bulk of the run game, but that you're going to see Xavier Worthy get involved, a little bit of Brashard Smith, Tyquan Thornton probably a little bit involved. Rashee Rice, when he gets back, will absolutely be a part of the short passing game extension of the run game.
And that's just an evolution that we've seen Andy go through before. Let's hope that it can have more teeth than that. That's my personal hope. And if they do have that, they're going to have to use them against the Jaguars. In particular, that short pass game can negate some of the strengths the Jaguars have. Let's take a look at them and their pass rush coming up next. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and you're in business. You can get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across their app. It's super simple. And if you know your first one, it helps you get on a roll. Without a doubt, it makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action, when you're involved. It's not just for the casual fan, but if you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes that game day experience that much more. You got to get into it. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel app today and get started.
Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I linked all my accounts to Monarch Money and immediately spotted a few subscriptions I wasn't even using. I absolutely love Monarch Money. I've been using it for close to a year and a half now. It is a fantastic tool. You need to check it out. It makes it easy for me to review my finances, and I can easily see the budget, goals, and spending activity all in one place. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL.
The Jags are the Jags are the Jags. Storied franchise might be a way to put it. Lots of stories about that franchise. Well, they're off to what is, I consider, a pretty good start here. And the guy that I want to isolate is probably the poster child for it. And it's on the defensive side, somebody the Chiefs are going to have to deal with. Josh Hines-Allen, 11 pressures in the last 2 ball games, part of the catalyst there. It's been a revolving group around him. Trayvon Walker had a nice game 2 games ago. Eric Armstead put in a lot of pressure this last week. And so for the Chiefs and that offensive line that we talked about just a little bit ago, they have what I think is a whack-a-mole situation. You have to contend with Allen because he leads this group. But you never know who's going to pop their head out next, Matt. So in terms of this particular matchup, and I know we're not deep into it yet. It's early in the week still. But as you look ahead to this, is there one thing about that defensive front that gives you pause or gives a pause to a particular player on the Chiefs side?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it on the nail on the head, which is that, I mean, Josh Hines-Allen is the absolute guy that you have to worry about the most on that defense. He's the Chris Jones of the Jaguars front. He's the guy that you have to worry about the most. And He's an edge guy, so he's going to be going up against Josh Simmons and or Jawan Taylor. And yeah, I mean, I think you feel pretty good at this point about Josh Simmons as well as he's been playing. Jawan, I mean, and this is going to be a test for Jawan because remember, I mean, Jacksonville was where he came from and for the Chiefs, but it's also where he had his worst game of his NFL career when he got taken out, a couple of years ago in his second game with the Chiefs, I believe it was. Because it was right after the Thursday night issue with Chris Collinsworth that goes to Jacksonville and had a rash of penalties to the point where Andy Reid had to pull him out of the game. And, so this going back to Jacksonville, it's going to be a test for Jawan, especially because once again, we've talked about it before. Jawan goes off of the cadence of the quarterback when he gets in environments, especially on the road where it's difficult to hear the quarterback and hear Mahomes. He can jump, he can get a little early, or if he can also go the other way, he can go late. So it can affect his timing a little bit. And in Jacksonville, this is their Super Bowl. This is the biggest game in Jacksonville. Monday night, Chiefs come into town. This is what Duval has been waiting for a long, long time. And yeah, I mean, if Mahomes gets harassed off the edges, that's how Jacksonville can create their turnovers. I still don't think that the Chiefs are a turnover team. So I think they've got a chance. And if once again, I mean, that's where it all starts. If Jacksonville doesn't create turnovers, I don't know how they win this game, because on the offensive side, they've only really have one weapon.
It's interesting because you look at this game and you look at what Kansas City's dealt with pass rush wise. The Baltimore Ravens didn't really have much of a pass rush, didn't have to worry about it. But the Giants did have a pass rush, and Kansas City, for the most part, shut it down, especially in the second half. I'm not going to say they were perfect, but they did very well against that pass rush. So this is going to be another test, and this is exactly what you want to see with what you've seen from Josh Simmons, from what you've seen from even Jawan Taylor to an extent so far this season. I think you have to feel pretty decent about the chances that they have here. But the bigger thing that I think is going to stick out to me is, does Mahomes do what he did against the Baltimore Ravens? Does he hit the back of his drop, hit his back foot, and throw the ball in between two defenders that are closing on the receiver like he did to Juju Smith-Schuster? That's a throw that you only start to make when you feel comfortable and you know that you know what you're going to do before probably the ball's even snapped. And you don't make that throw unless you have done it multiple times and you've seen it before you even throw it. So is he going to continue making those types of throws? He has done very well at not putting the ball in harm's way so far this season. Obviously, his one turnover bounces off of Travis Kelce and becomes, the Chiefs' only turnover this season. Kansas City holding on to the ball and going into this game, and Mahomes firing, if he can get comfortable early, I think could play a huge factor in how they play against this Jacksonville team. When you flip it over to the other side, though, Matt, you do talk about they only really have one weapon, and that's Brian Thomas Jr., who's fantastic. Etienne had a good game this past week too, but this defense is playing at another level that I wasn't expecting this early in the season, and a lot better than we expected after what we saw in the preseason.
Yeah, and I mean, again, when you get 13 turnovers in 4 games, that's what's going to drive your defense. And so, when you look at some of the other numbers on the defensive side, I mean, it's really, to me, it's really, that's the big part of it. I mean, they're number 5 in the league in points, but you look at it, their defense is, I think, 15th in total yards. That's around 19th, 20th, and I think in passing. I mean, they're really good against the run, but again, they've also been playing some games where teams don't even bother to try to run the football because they're throwing, and now obviously they're 3-1, so teams have been behind and been throwing a lot. They got into a little bit of a shootout with the Bengals too, so that was influences that a little bit. But this is a team that I think pretty much ranks up pretty favorably for the Chiefs, because again, as long as you don't turn the football over, you should be able to handle this defense. They're going to give up some yards. They are a little bit of a bend but don't break defense still. I don't see this as as strong as a defense. Are they stronger than the Ravens? Injured? Maybe. Are they more comparable to the Giants? Maybe. I don't think that this Jaguars team is, like I said, I don't think it's a top 5, top 8 defense, but they're creating turnovers right now. And if they're opportunistic, that's what you have to avoid.
And opportunism is contagious, and it can be streaky, and so you can end that streak as well. And for me, the key thing that sticks out in watching for this is what I think will be one of the telltale signs of this particular game. Obviously, turnovers change fortunes, but beyond that, the metric that I looked at the most, that is the biggest differential for me, third down conversion rate for your opponent. So from the defensive point of view, how much you're giving up third downs. Chiefs are 9th at this point with Spagnuolo's defense. Jags are 29th. So as long as you can get to the point where you're controlling ATN, and quite frankly, the Chiefs' base defense has been maybe not as cracked up as it seems it is, and ATN is kind of squirrely, so you got to manage that. But if you get him in third and at least mid, maybe even prefer long, I feel like the Chiefs had a distinct advantage there about not only just getting out of the drive, but also having a chance to cause those turnovers. Is there anything in particular, Matt, that you're watching for as a sign for where this game will go that we should be paying attention to, like the first couple of drives?
Well, I think you hit a big part of it right there, which is that, the Chiefs defensively, they're really good on third down. And most of, let's face it, most of third down comes down to the quarterback. If you got a quarterback that can convert third downs, you're going to usually be okay. If you have a quarterback who can't convert on third downs, you're going to have problems. And that's where Jacksonville's problems are. I mean, Liam Cohen does a really good job of tailoring an offense to the talent that he has. The problem is that Trevor Lawrence just doesn't have a whole lot of talent. So he's built an offense that's designed to get the running game involved, to limit the exposure that Trevor Lawrence is going to expose the football to, and turnover-worthy plays, and protect the football on their own. They're not a team that's going to go down the field and have 350 yards passing, though. So, to a degree, this is Chiefs defense needs to make Trevor Lawrence uncomfortable the entire game. If they start getting on a roll, they pick up and convert some third downs, that's going to be a problem. But the other side of it too is the Chiefs on third down, because they haven't been their normal selves on third down so far this season. They've been really inconsistent. This is a defense that, like you mentioned, Ryan, hasn't been very good on third down. So that's where you got to attack them. So to me, hey, if it's the first quarter and the Chiefs are struggling on third down and Jacksonville isn't, that could be a problem for later on.
Yeah, it could be. And I'm going to be very curious to see how this game turns out. It is going to be a fun one in Jacksonville on Monday Night Football. I do think that Kansas City is going to be in a situation where they should be able to go into this game. They should be able to continue showing what they've done on offense and continue evolving and continue getting going in the right direction. And defensively, you make a great point, Matt. I am curious to see if the Jaguars are going to be able to overcome some of the inconsistencies of Trevor Lawrence. I guess I'll put it that way. Because if they can't, this defense can definitely clamp down on the Jaguars and make it very hard for them to even have a chance to win just by, stopping them on third down and stopping them from moving the ball. So really excited about this game.
I think that goes for all of us. Matt, thank you for all of your insights today, giving us your point of view so that I don't get too carried away. Thank you for the grounding maneuvers.
Always great talking to you guys. Take care, my friends.
Folks, have a great day. We appreciate you being here. You everydayers, most especially. Make sure you subscribe to Matt as well as to us on all the platforms. Thank you for your time and your patience and your listening, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.